I am so excited today because Fiona has been a woman that I have been dialoguing with for a few years and for very, very important reasons. Today, Fiona Provan is the Senior Partner Manager at Zazen Water. Now, you've heard me talk about this before. All of my community knows how much I love Zazen, and Fiona's passion is water science. And what makes her perspective so powerful is that she's deeply grounded in her background in health and well-being. Fiona is trained in health science with a modality in homeopathy, and she's spent years educating clients on why water matters. Fiona's career has been wonderfully diverse. She spent 12 years in corporate stockbroking in Brisbane, then stepped away to raise her two children, later built and ran her home-based business and completed a 4-year Bachelor of Health Science in homeopathy and went on to spend over a decade in the retail health store management. She's been the owner and operator of a multi-modality clinic in Brisbane. So she understands both the practitioner world of view and then also integrates really well with that customer experience. What does the customer want? And since 2018, Fiona has been with Zazen Water and supporting health practitioners just like me and customers right across Australia and helping people understand the practical benefits of better water and how we can make it real life. So Fiona, welcome. I'm so chuffed that you're here.
Thanks, Sally Ann. I'm very chuffed to be here as well. So I'm really excited to extend into the dialogue that we were having the other day because it was very much about relationship for us when we're working with whether it's our customers or our partners. We're very much about bringing together a natural alignment and having partners that work within the wellness fields is something that we've been doing for a long, long time. My role at Zazen's now 8 years next month. So it has been a lot of relationships that I've been able to develop, and you're one of them. So thank you for sharing your time with me today.
So Zazen water filters, just quickly why I love them is their price point. Actually, in terms of a water filter, I feel like they're quite consumer friendly with the outcomes that they deliver. I actually have two in my own home. I take one with me traveling, and I have one that's stationary in our kitchen. And the kids love it. So just the autonomy of children being able to hydrate when they want to, and to do so with clean filtered water that's remineralized and alkaline is just another thing that I don't have to worry about. So Zazen was one of my first big investments. When I say big, I mean not just $20 or $30. It was my first big investment in my health, and I'm so grateful that I started there.
Yeah. So one of the things I noted that we both came from a corporate background, and so previously the concepts of wellness in my 20s was just like, what? What do you mean I should be concerned about anything? So it wasn't until I literally left the corporate world and was raising two children that you come across the sort of things that make you go, oh, I need to think about these other little people and what's best for them. So you start thinking about what you're eating and what you're drinking, and you also discover things that you never heard about before. So my background, modality-wise, in the wellness field is a homeopath. So as a homeopath, the only reason I came to even hear about a homeopath was by accident. And that accident was because I was the P&C president for the school, of kids' school. I was running a school fete. I was the president of the P&C, doing all those type of things that you do when you get into primary school age. And that's when I discovered one of the local prackies who referred me to a acupuncturist, and then I was referred to a homeopath. And the first thing I went was, a homeopath what? Never heard of it. So I guess my interest in the world of health and wellness in the natural fields started in my kids' primary school years. Now, water, I guess, was, when I think back to the kids, what they were drinking in the classrooms was just bubbler water at school. And it's horrendous to think that the quality of the water that our kids are having to rely on when they're at school is that. So no wonder mums and dads are now I watched a bunch of kids the other day out on an excursion at school, and they were all carrying water bottles, every one of them. So, I don't think too many kids are really relying on the bubbler at school anymore. They're being sent off with hopefully as good a quality water as they can each morning. And having the Zazen system, I know that a lot of mums are saying, every night I fill up all the water bottles, and then the next morning, they're using it for preparing meals, etc. So it becomes part and parcel of their whole life, whether it's cooking, whether it's drinking, whether it's making ice cubes, you name it. But I'm really glad that kids are starting to get the benefit of good quality water. And that is so much about the story of Zazen, because what I really want to share is the reason I joined Zazen, because it's about a natural alignment with the people you're working with. So I choose to work with Zazen, and I choose that because there's a natural alignment with the people who started and created Zazen. Two lovely ladies, co-founders, Janet and Vanessa. They were, neither of them have children, but they read something many, many years ago that made them sit up and think, because they realized that in this one statement that they read, which was that the next generation of children would not live as long as their parents' generation. And they were like, what? Why? In this day and age, why would that be the case? And they started looking at, the basics, what are the foundational things that affect our well-being for the long haul. And of course, one of the main things is got to be water, because it's so foundational to our health, our wellness. And I guess it also related to the fact that Janet had a beautiful little puppy dog who was experiencing some hip issues, and she was looking for ways to, assist the outcome. And that was when she really discovered the benefits of water that reflected how it should be, how water should be in nature. And there's a gorgeous video on our website that actually refers to the storyline that she goes on about in regard to how she achieved a really positive outcome for her little pup at the time. So we know that water is foundational to hydration at the cellular level. And so when I used to filter water prior to Zazen, it was with little understanding that it was not just about what I was taking out.
Yes.
Also very much focused on what water needs to be received into our cells. And so most people put a focus on the word filter. Filter is so much about the concept of how much can you remove of X, Y, Z. And yes, we do, because we know that the water in our municipal tap water these days has got so many additives, chlorine, fluoride, you name it. It's a crying shame. You can smell it, you can taste it. And so that's why a lot of people, first of all, want to understand what they can do to filter it. But the biggest thing that I love about the Zazen philosophy and the design around it is very much around, we don't just filter things. That's only half your story. You've got to make sure that it's represented in nature by having access to the three big things. And the three big things that I know that one of the most famous scientists in water talks about is from the fourth phase of water.
Yes.
And those big things are, in nature, water connects to the earth. It doesn't just connect for the minerals, it connects for, like when we ground our feet to the earth, we're also, water has to connect to the magnetic field of the earth as well. It connects to sunlight. The spectrum of sunlight is really important for water, as per his research, Professor Gerald Pollack, is about far infrared spectrum of light and how important that is to the structure of water. And the structure is about what the water needs to be taken into our cells really easy. So there's all of that detail aspect, and then there's the emotional context. The emotional context is when people just send us reviews going, oh my God, I can't believe I have been drinking water that didn't taste like this before. How could I ever go back to drinking, any other type of water? The love for the Zazen water has just been so beautiful to see every day when we get shared the reviews, and we just look at them and go, yay, another really delighted customer. So I guess that sort of talks to why I stick around here at Zazen for 8 years. It's because I really feel that I'm working with a company that has got integrity around making sure that the water is exactly what it needs to be to hydrate all of our families.
Absolutely. It's interesting because one of my questions here was why quality water matters more than most people realize. And I think you've just answered that. Most people are looking at the removal process as opposed to ensuring that the structure of the molecule is going to be actually taken into the body. And I can only witness what I've seen in my own home when I have children visiting, and they all flock to the system. Like it's like a bead of honey. They just literally gravitate. They're like, what's this? And then as soon as they have the freedom of not just the playfulness of them being in control of their hydration, but then the taste, I'll quite often watch kids that are chronically dehydrated go back 4 or 5 times. And it's just so interesting to watch. It's like they have that first sip and they realize, their body realizes, I am chronically dehydrated. This is living water. Yeah. And I'm able to actually nourish myself at a cellular level, and they keep going back. And I just find it so interesting. And it's just, we know that the body is innate, and when we give it what it needs, it heals. And you talk about that foundational piece. And I think that's what I love about this company. And I've been thrown different water filters over the years, and I'm like, nope, I will not recommend any other, because this is what I use in my own home. Yes. And I trust you guys. So that's powerful. So in simple terms, what problems what problems does Zazen Water solve?
Sure. So one of the things that I was just reminded of when you were just speaking just then was about a book written by Dr. Batman-Galige. Now, it's actually a book that was used as a textbook in a lot of studies for the natural modalities, and it was written many, many years ago. He's passed on now. He was a doctor, and he actually spent some time incarcerated in international prison. And that's where he really came to understand, when he had little at his disposal, to help other inmates, as a doctor would try to do anything he could. And so he started working with all he had, and that was water and salt.
Wow.
So what he discovered was so many foundational chronic disease processes are founded within dehydration. And so his book that he wrote was called Your Body's Many Cries for Water. And he literally wrote chapter after chapter exploring the things that he discovered when he applied adding minerals to the water that he had access to. And he said that whether it was, cramps, or whether it was, something as simple as acute sort of symptoms, or whether it was more chronic symptoms, whether it be blood pressure conditions, or you name it, most of the conditions that we find people go to the doctors to complain about would actually probably be a lot less of a concern if they were drinking water that's actually hydrating them at that cellular level. So it reminds me that the problem it solved for me was when I was on a trip back in 2018, I think, to China, and I was climbing the Great China Wall. And all I had access to was bottled water. Now, that bottled water will be completely cheap RO water, no minerals whatsoever. Doesn't matter how much you drink, it's not going to hydrate you. Now, I had climbed those stairs and my legs were like wobbling. By the time I got back down, I was very dehydrated. Now, I'd also been on flights, I was traveling, so I was in pain. And that night I was actually thinking, oh my God, I've got to get on a plane in another 2 days. And if I'm staying like this level of pain, it's not going to be good. Now, at the time, I didn't have access to any salt. And I would now say that when I travel, that would be one thing I'd always do. And I'm not talking about, iodized table salt.
No.
But what I did find was a bar with a margarita. salt rim. 2 of those later, I was literally in a good place again. So it just shows you how quickly your body will react once you give it what it needs. So those minerals are so vital to our water. So this is why the Zazen system isn't just about filtration. It's why the mineral stones in the bottom are sitting there in a place where the water is able to balance itself and take what it needs, because water will automatically do that. It has that fundamental ability to take up from its environment. So it will balance itself. And it's also interesting, I was talking to somebody yesterday who has a rain tank, and their rain tank is a concrete rain tank. So one of the problems is that most rain tanks, whether they're plastic, metal, will have a very acidic outcome of 4.5 on the pH scale typically, because there's no minerals in rainwater. Now, there only is minerals in rainwater when it hits the ground and re-establishes itself with the environment. Catch it in a rain tank, and it's not going to do that. It's going to be literally acidic because it's got no minerals in it. So it's acidic, and people are commonly asking how they can improve their rainwater. And so putting it through a Zazen system allows it access to those beautiful minerals again. And the only problem is that someone with a concrete tank, because the water's so acidic, what it does, it starts pulling the calcium out of the limestone of the concrete.
Wow.
So you can actually test the pH, and you'll find it might be 9 on the pH scale, because it's literally just pulling. It's hungry. The water is hungry to find ways to rebalance itself. So it's pulling from its environment, and that's what its environment is, concrete. So that's why you'll find that rainwater in a concrete tank will actually be alkaline, but alkaline doesn't mean balanced. It just means it's alkaline because it has calcium, being Ca+, an alkaline mineral, now positioning it into an alkaline test outcome. But if it has access to more than just the concrete, if it has access to beautiful minerals, such as the mineral stones, it's going to take up a balanced range of those alkaline minerals. So calcium, magnesium, potassium, silica, and that's going to make the water much more like it would be in nature, a spring water. That's what our ideal is. So typically you'll find the Zazen filter will be sitting around about, or the filtered water, we're sitting around about 8 to 8.5. And that depends, of course, on what it starts at.
Yeah.
Another really interesting thing is that we were talking about municipal tap water and what's in it. And we know that there's things like chlorine and fluoride, etc. But what happens is chlorine is a gas, and gases vapor off. So the municipal water supply companies have to continually be topping up the chlorine to, and what is chlorine used for? It's a disinfectant. It's there to try and get it into your home safely, because obviously along the way, all sorts of things could happen. So we have no problem with that. But it's once you get it into the home that you are ready to drink it, you don't need to have that chlorine in there anymore. So that's where we're able to filter that out. But as I said, the reason why I was talking to the journey into your house is because the municipal water supply have a lot of costs associated with keeping that chlorination happening, and it has to be sort of topped up all along the way, especially in summertime when it vapors off because of the high heat, a bit like a swimming pool. You have to keep topping up chlorine all the time. So we started inventing another thing, and that was another way to keep the chlorine in the water longer. And that is how we discovered in a bill recently from the water company that they were adding in something known as caustic soda. And caustic soda is a very alkaline mineral that is designed to raise the pH of the water. And the reason why they're doing that is because having a higher alkaline level means that it's easier to keep the chlorine and the fluoride in than if it's more acidic.
Oh, no.
So, the fact that they raised the pH from 7.8 to 8.4 in Queensland, southeast Queensland, wasn't because they went, oh, we're doing you a favour, we want you to have more alkaline water. It was very specifically because it helps them to keep those additives in a more effective way, a cost-effective way for them. So that is also why fluoride is actually quite a hard thing to take out of water, because the more acidic the water, the easier it is to take the fluoride out. So these are all the things that we've got to be aware of and be on top of all the time. So, we don't just go, here's a water filter and that's it forevermore. We're constantly researching, monitoring, understanding what's changing in the environment so that we can keep up with that. And if we need to make changes, we will make changes to the filtration media to achieve that best outcome. So just so you know that all the team here, we're either working out of the sales team, for example, here, and the customer service team, we're all prackies. I've got a naturopath sitting next to me. I've got a kinesiologist sitting next to me, nutritionist. I'm a homeopath. So this is a company that invests in their staff to be aligned with, what their natural intentions are. So that's why, again, it comes back to integrity. It comes back to relationship. It comes back to recognition that we're not here to just sell you a water filter. We're here to solve problems. And I think that's where we started just before. It was about solving the problem of not having to necessarily go down deep, dark hole, but rely on the fact that your practitioner and a company such as Zazen has already done the research, and the integrity of the quality of the media is something that is vital as well, because you can't do the job effectively if you're relying on cheap rubbish that comes out of, maybe charcoal out of China that's made from bone char, or all sorts of horrendous stories. So, that's the difference that I would say Zazen is making when it comes to understanding the filtration side and the outcome of cellular hydration.
Absolutely. Fantastic. And I will say, testimony to Zazen as just a business in general is that the customer service has always been exemplary. The return calls, the problem solving has just been exceptional. So I feel confident when I've built a relationship with someone to be able to say, go and look at these filters, because I know in my heart that if something went wrong or they have a question, they're not going to feel afraid when they do get the responses from Zazen. So I think that's really honourable. A lot of companies don't do that well, and so it's a nice touch. Now we're here to talk. I've been wanting to talk to you for years about water, and I think you've so eloquently covered the water filtration systems. But actually, the reason why we wanted to connect today was actually slightly different, and it's another layer that we know was well needed. And I think Zazen again has hit a new part of the market, which is exciting and dynamic. Can we talk about your new shower filter range?
We can. It is very exciting. So we've actually been doing shower filtration since 2012. So it's not that it's new for us, but we have a very innovative new Zazen shower filter that we've brought to market just in the last 12 months. And so I'll talk to that, and I'll talk to the reason we've gone down that path. So I'm just going to bring one over. In the background, I'm not sure whether you can actually see, we
can see the top of the filter, but we can't see the, there she is. So that's the Zazen water filter. If you're listening to the audio, you'll have to just look at their website. But if for those that are interested, those little stones at the bottom are the mineral stones that Fiona talked about. There is an 8-stage filtration situation.
Yeah, just to go back there, we've actually made it a bit simpler. We talk to the hydrogenesis, which is 4 stages, and it's really about the understanding that we need to clean, and we need to, so clean through the filtration side of things. We need to balance the water, and we need to make sure that the water is living water. So having an understanding about all of those things, because we've got magnets in the back of the tap here. So as the water comes through there, it's actually activating itself, and that will oxygenate the water, but also ground the water through the changes to the angles of the hydrogen and oxygen. And the mineral stones are just like a creek bed where water gets access to the beautiful natural stones. And then we've also, because the chlorine's been taken out, we've naturally had to look at, well, how can we protect the water in the bottom tank? And so the mineral stones, we've actually given a protective layer through colloidal silver, and that keeps the water nice and fresh beyond the different stages of filtration, which one is about excluding things, one is about absorbing things. So we've covered it all. We've got everything to create a beautiful water. But now, as you said, Sally-Anne, we have also now brought to the table a filter for the shower.
Pretty. Beautiful.
So what you're finding now is that a lot of people are doing up their bathrooms and they have their own choice of shower style. You know, when we first started providing shower filtration to our customers, the shower filter was typically inside our shower head, or and so when you do that, that means you're saying, here, you must have this type of shower. And we wanted to offer our customers some more flexibility. So what we've done is we've now got a filter that can be attached to pretty much any style of shower that's on the marketplace.
Incredible.
So with this one, I'm looking at I'm just going to unscrew it so that you can actually see the filter itself is simply the metal canister that I'm talking to here. And all I've done is I've actually unscrewed the hose part and threaded it onto the end there.
Okay.
And then threaded that onto the wall mount. So the water filter happens through the water coming through, down into your hose and out here. The other place that I could have chosen to put it was actually, instead of having it between here and here, I could have had it between here and here.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. Oh, unscrew, screw it in, thread, and away you go. So when people say, do I need a plumber? No, you don't need a plumber. Very, very simple. If you've got a ceiling filter, a shower, you can just unscrew the head from the ceiling pipe that comes out, put it in, screw it back on. You've got an arm that comes out of the wall, unscrew the arm, put it in, thread it onto the wall mount, and thread the other end of the arm on. So pretty much anyone is going to be able to simply put the shower filter in play. And what is the shower filter doing for us? Well, one thing is it's dermally, our skin receives chlorine very, very quickly and very, very easily into our system. So we would be protecting our skin health, our hair health. We would also be protecting our lungs, because especially in winter, I guess, when we tend to put the hot water on much more so, again, chlorine's a gas. So you're almost creating yourself a little gas chamber.
Gas chamber.
Yep. Because you can smell it. And when you can smell it, you're breathing it in as well. So I guess what most people describe it as is creating your own day spa. I know that a lot of kids in Queensland, or not just Queensland, Australia, spend time in swimming pools.
Yes.
And a lot of those swimming pools are chlorine. So, you know, we're going to still have that exposure out there, but if they can come home and at least clean themselves after a shower, after a swimming lesson or class or whatever, they're going to actually be able to refresh their outcome through filtered water that doesn't have chlorine in it. I remember being in swimming classes when I was in school days, red eyes.
Yes.
I couldn't see the classroom board. Like for the first hour of my classes, they were just so red.
Irritated.
So we know chlorine is an irritant. We know it's going to affect us in so many ways. So this is just one of the ways that we can at least every day have a shower that doesn't cause that irritation. Now, what else do we want? We also, obviously, we have a silver one, which is the most common, but we also do have a black option. Because there are different coloured shower setups out there. We found the most common is either going to be silver or black, so that we can cater for either of those.
I love that this is phenomenal. Again, like the water filter for people that are renting. So if you're not in your own home, this is something that you can take off without affecting or needing to ask your landlord. And You know what else I love? I'm like, I can just imagine me packing two of these on my next holiday as well.
Oh, a story that I got told the other day was somebody said to me, I had to go into hospital. And she said, I wasn't going to sorry, excuse me, I wasn't going to take chlorinated tap water in my experience of having a shower every day because she was going to have to be in there. She had an extensive stay, it was weeks. And so she took her shower filter and set it up in there.
Yeah, why
And
not?
so it doesn't matter whether it's your mum that's in an aged care home or the hospital or your holiday, it's that simple to take that you can just take it with you without any thought. The other thing, by the way, is obviously there is only so many different styles of filtration canisters out there. So you might see a lot of different ones that look similar. We do have our name, Zazen Water, actually on the exterior there, so you know what you're dealing with, because it's very important to understand that the filtration media inside is what's doing the job. It's not this. It's great that we've got a really strong metal canister, but the filtration media inside, what we're using is something called KDF 55. And we're using NSF certified patented KDF 55. Now, over 95% of what's in that cartridge is that. A lot of other companies will say they're using KDF 55 as the core material. And we actually opened up several just to have a look inside to see if that was the case. And two very well-known brands, when we opened them up, we were literally sifting through a whole lot of charcoal and balls and things, and we were lucky to find about a dozen or so gold flakes, because gold is the color of the KDF that will highlight what it is. So gold is the gold standard, and it will achieve not only the highest percentage removal rate when you're using core technology of KDF, but it will also extend into a longer lifetime. So when you do a bit of research around other companies, have a look to see how many litres they're saying it will actually filter and for what the suggested timeline is. So the Zazen filter, we suggest 40,000 litres or 6 months for a typical family, whereas some of the other ones on the marketplace that might look similar on the outside, 13,000 litres and 2 to 3 months.
That's a big
So
difference
when you're
in
paying,
your replacement costs.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
replacement costs were quite similar. So if you have to do it 2 or 3 times more regularly, that's going to really add up. So at the end of the day, you want things to be affordable, which you talked about in the very first place. That was one of the things that attracted you, is that we want to make sure that everybody has access. So this particular shower filter on our website is $169.95, and the refills, I think, are $69.95. So it's quite affordable. So yeah.
It's so exciting. I like this. And so when you talk about filtration, what happens when the water is hot that goes into the filtration system? Like, does that compromise the efficacy of the
Yeah.
system itself?
Thank you for asking that question, because that takes me back again to the KDF that we were just talking about. So when we have the Zazen water filter with all of the different layers in the filtration media, that's because we're using gravity drip-fed slow filtration outcomes with tap water that's coming out, not hot water. So in that case, charcoal is one of the premium concepts to use in filtration. It's absorbing things. It needs to spend time with that media to do that job. If you turn on a tap or a shower, it's coming out very, very fast. It's also in a shower, typically hot water. So that's the two differentials between what we're doing with the water filtration at the drinking water level and the shower. So you need a different kind of media to deal with that. And so that's why we don't have all the layers in this cartridge that we have in our water filter. We use 95% and higher, the KDF, because KDF is actually not absorbing things as such. It's more creating a redox reaction, and that redox reaction is actually creating the chlorine. It's breaking it down into harmless chloride ions. Yes, it also deals with some of the heavy metals, such as copper and lead, but it's not a charcoal scenario that's designed to absorb in water that's flowing through at that speed It's just not going to happen. Some people talk about taking fluoride out of the shower water. And I'd sit there and I go, gosh, how can you expect fluoride to be taken out of any substantial level, at least, when your water is passing through that quickly? You know, even when we're passing it through for hours with a lot of media, it's still difficult to get all of it out. Nobody can get it all out either. But it's more about what people want to hear and what people were prepared to tell them. So when we talk about fluoride, it's not a gas in the same way of it is, but it's not in the same way as chlorine. You need something like 1,000 degrees for it to actually off gas in the same way that chlorine off gas is at, you know, around that 40 degrees temperature. So we're not so concerned about that in shower water. What we're concerned about, because dermally the problem is chlorine is the thing that dermally is received and off gases. So that's our main focus with shower filtration, the comparison to what we're doing with the filtration for the drinking water.
Incredible. I love this. And okay, so if someone's sitting there and going, I want to do an upgrade, but how do I decide? What should I do first? Should I do my water filter or my shower system? What would you suggest?
Okay, look, I would always be wanting to start with the best outcome that suits your current situation. So that is never going to be one or the other. It's going to be your journey starts somewhere. And, you know, drinking the water is literally, I guess, something that's the most foundational thing that we can do. So for a family, especially when there's, it's not just one or two people that are typically benefiting, it's often a family of, you know, 4, 5, etc. And so in that sense, I guess, think about it in the context of drinking water that works out to about 6 cents a litre. Now, you go to any service station and pay, what, $4 for a bottle of water? And that's just RO water with no minerals, etc. Even if you go to the health store and buy the hyper alka powered, you know, type of water, which can actually be too high in alkalinity as well, there is balance. We don't want it to be acidic, but we don't want it to be excessively alkaline either. And usually the reason it's excessively alkaline is often through the addition, a bit like the rain tank scenario and the calcium, adding bicarb, that type of thing, to raise the level. So again, it's not just about how high, it's about the balance. So going back to that point, obviously drinking water is foundational. Showering in the water that we were talking about before is more about creating an outcome where you can upgrade that experience. But we all need to start somewhere. And I would suggest to you that the price points are both very, very attractive. And, you know, Mother's Day is coming up. So if you've already got a Zazen, what can you do? You can treat mum to the experience of, you know, a shower filter. If you haven't gone that route of filtering your water yet, think about it as a family thing. Mums are the ones that care about the whole family's health and wellness typically. So hopefully they'll go, this is what I want for Mother's Day, a Zazen water filter, and followed up with the bonus of a shower filter if maybe Dad gets that for Father's Day.
It's phenomenal. I mean, for family health, truly, it's a non-negotiable in our household. And most of the clients and women that are coming to me are coming so because there's a history of anxiety or chronic health, and they're really wanting to break free. And the foundations are food and hydration. Like you can't kind of avoid those two paths. So it is fundamental.
Something that resonated there. We have a lot of people that are very aware of what the microbiome is now. So when we talk about microbiome, we're talking about there's the gut-skin microbiome axis. And so there is, that's why both are so important. You know, we can't literally say one's more important than the other. But if you're pouring water that has chlorine, which is a disinfectant that's designed to kill bacteria, into ourselves, what is the outcome? How will that affect your gut microbiome? So if you're spending a lot of money with wellness practitioners that are helping you on that level and showing you how to ferment foods and do all of those sort of things, you're not going to find that you're going to ferment very well with using chlorinated tap water. No. So I guess it's the journey where you start understanding that everything's connected. everything's connected, and that's when you start realizing what's more important. What do I need to give up, maybe to access having the tools that are really going to give us that best wellness outcomes. Because at the end of the day, what do they say? Health is wealth.
Yeah.
So, or wealth is health, either way.
When you don't have it, it's all you think about.
Yeah.
And I've been there. It's not fun. So
Yeah.
powerful. Well, thank you so much, Fiona, and thank you all of the team at Zazen who are just exemplary in their communication and follow up and quality control. I feel very blessed to have Zazen as a partner that I recommend clinically. And I know that if any of you are out there drinking tap water, please, 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 please make this a financial priority for 2026 because it is paramount to your longevity, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. And thank you, Fiona. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
You know what? After I finish up, there'll be something, I'm sure. But at this point in time, no, I think we've covered a fair bit of ground. So thank you for the opportunity. And I hope that anyone who's listening takes your advice to contact you and explore more about both the options of their drinking water and their showering water. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you.